It started with a limp, a slow, dragging gait that followed him through the middle school hallways like a shadow. He could never shake. Kids whispered. Some didn't even bother to whisper. "Hey, Robo-leg, look, it's the broken boy. Try to keep up. Oh wait, never mind." Elijah Thomas learned early how to mask pain. Not the physical kind, he was used to that. Born with a congenital defect that took his leg before he could walk. Elijah had spent more days in hospitals than on playgrounds, but nothing hurt quite like being reminded every day that the world saw him as less. Even teachers looked at him with quiet pity. Coaches skipped over him in gym class. No one asked him to join group projects or recess games. He existed like a ghost, visible, but never invited. But Elijah had something they couldn't see. Every night, after peeling off his prosthetic and rubbing the raw skin beneath, he'd lie awake in bed and watch videos of Paralympians and amputee climbers. He studied them, not just their strength but their fire. He whispered to himself, "One day, they'll know my name too." When high school came, he shocked everyone by trying out for the track team. "You can't run on one leg," a boy laughed in the locker room. "I don't run on one leg," Elijah said calmly. "I run on heart." He didn't make the team that year, but he came back the next, and the next. 3 years. Dozens of falls, hundreds of blisters, people pointing, people laughing, coaches doubting, until one morning, during tryouts his senior year, Elijah strapped on a new carbon fiber running blade, the first one he'd ever owned, and blew past every other runner on the field. The track fell silent. By sunset, he wasn't just on the team. He was the fastest 400-meter runner in the district. But Elijah wasn't done. That same year, he wrote an essay about resilience and disability for a national scholarship. In it, he wrote, "They called me broken, but broken people don't run. Broken people don't rise. I am not broken. I am built." The essay went viral overnight. Elijah's inbox filled with letters, some from strangers who said he saved their life, some from journalists, and one from a U.S. Olympic coach. 2 years later, the world watched as Elijah stood on the track at the Paralympic Games in Tokyo. The same kid who once got shoved into lockers was now draped in the American flag. The same boy who once got laughed off the gym floor now had his name etched into record books. And just before his first race, under the stadium lights and roaring crowd, he did something no one expected. He took off his prosthetic, held it high in the air, and whispered, "This is what carried me, but it never defined me." Then he put it back on, stepped onto the starting line, and walked into history. The gun cracked. Elijah exploded off the blocks like a man-possessed blade, slicing the air with precision. Sweat streaking across his brow. Every muscle in his body was on fire. But he had learned to run through flames. The world watched in awe. Commentators couldn't keep up with the poetry of what they were witnessing. "He's flying," one gasped. "No, he's rewriting what we thought was possible." In the final stretch, as runners fell behind one by one, Elijah surged forward with a speed that seemed unreal. Every time his blade struck the track, it echoed not just power but defiance. The finish line rushed toward him. He didn't slow down. He crossed it with his arms outstretched, his face tilted to the heavens, eyes glistening. A new record blinked on the scoreboard. Silence fell, and then came the roar. His name boomed through the stadium. Elijah Thomas, world record holder. Tears flowed freely, not just from his family in the stands, but from strangers who had once called people like him less than, from kids in wheelchairs watching at home, suddenly seeing themselves in a hero. During the medal ceremony, Elijah stood tall as the national anthem played, gold hanging from his neck. But it wasn't the medal that moved people. It was what he said after. With cameras flashing and microphones shoved in his face, he spoke simply to every kid who's been told they're not enough because of how they were born, what they lost, or what they look like. "You are not broken. They tried to bury me under names like crippled, slow, damaged, but I grew roots under that soil, and now I'm blooming where they tried to bury me." Reporters went silent. The video was replayed over and over, on TikTok, on ESPN, in classrooms. It became a rallying cry for the disabled, for the underestimated, for the forgotten. But Elijah didn't stop there. He launched a foundation run beyond providing prosthetics and sports scholarships for children with limb differences across the globe. His dream wasn't just to win, it was to pull others across the finish line with him. In time, schools that once pitied him invited him back to speak. Gyms he was laughed out of now had murals of him sprinting. Kids wore shirts with his quote, "I'm not broken, I'm built." Years later, when he lit the torch at another Paralympic Games, standing tall as the symbol of unshakable resilience, one of his childhood bullies, now a father himself, sat in the crowd with his own son and whispered, "See that man? We called him broken, but he built something none of us ever could. He built a legacy. Let them mock your scars, just make sure you leave footprints they'll never forget. Because sometimes the ones they doubt the most are the ones born to walk into history." The stadium faded to darkness that night, but Elijah's light didn't. Years later, his blade was enshrined in the Smithsonian, not as a medical device but as a symbol of what happens when pain meets purpose. And somewhere, in a quiet bedroom, a young girl with a missing leg clips on her first prosthetic. On her wall, a poster of Elijah mid-stride. Above it, his words, "This isn't the end of your story. It's the start of your legacy." Because Elijah didn't just run races. He ran through mockery. He ran through silence. He ran through everything meant to stop him. And in doing so, he didn't just prove them wrong. He proved the broken can become unshakable. He proved limits are just lies waiting to be outrun. He proved a legacy isn't something you're given, it's something you build with every step.